mysteries abound around the world, from strange lights in the night sky to ghostly apparitions passing from one realm to the next. From the Great Pyramids of Egypt to what lies beneath the depths of Loch Ness. From Bigfoot to Atlantis, they are all mysteries waiting to be solved. Join Laurie Phillips, Lauren Smith, Graz, and Billy Simmons as they search for the truth on Nite Callers Radio.
Welcome to another episode of Nite Callers Bigfoot Radio. It's March 17th, 2016, and it is Happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody. Hope you didn't get pinched today. I told everybody at work to wear green. Everybody wore green but me, so I only had a little bit of green on. I totally forgot. But I didn't get pinched. Lucky me.
Yeah.
So, anyway, I'm here tonight with Lauren and Wild Bill, and Graf is still out with dental issues. So everybody pray for him. And it's been a very nice day. The weather has come out of the north now, and it's cooling off. And if it would stay this way all year round, I would love it. But no, it won't. It's going to get hot.
It's been hot here.
Really?
Yeah, I was sunbathing today.
And you've been having, like, tornadoes and stuff, haven't you, Bill?
Yeah, we've had a lot of hail. We had about 4 rounds of it. Tornadoes just to the north of us. It was kind of a duck and cover day all the way about 1 o'clock.
Anybody out there that doesn't know, Bill lives in North Texas, so kind of up close to Paris. So,
yeah,
wow.
It was rough today.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you made it.
I'm
glad you made it.
I'm too.
You're not broadcasting from a storm cellar.
No, but I am doing a live remote from Clancy's Pool Hall and Bar tonight, so I'm going to be on here in between rounds. I mean,
stop it.
It's St. Patty's Day. You don't expect an Irishman to actually stay in here for 2 hours and do the show, do you? I mean, come on. No.
I'm an Irish woman, and I'm doing it.
Well, okay. All right. Well, you're the boss. I mean, so I guess
I got a beer in my hand. That's how you work this thing.
Yeah. It's got to be green beer, though.
Green
beer, yeah.
Yeah. I do it right in my house.
Well, actually, I just got up from the dinner tables, corned beef, cabbage, and potatoes, and we had the green beverage as well. So there you go.
Awesome. Wow.
Well, St. Patrick's Day aside, Mom, have you had any more,
no.
I want to say anything else out there?
Yeah. You know, Bill, I don't know if you listened in to last week's show, but right before the show, I think I had a sighting. And, yeah.
She had a sighting.
Yeah, I'm still going through that. Did I not? You know, what was
I caught her about 15 minutes after the sighting, and she was in that trying to talk herself out of it.
Yeah.
Like everybody does, and I was telling her, you know, you saw it, stop it. So.
Yeah, I saw something big and hairy, so I don't know what else it could be. We don't have bears here. It was too tall to be a cow or a deer, so too big, you know, it looked just exactly what I think it was, but you know, the strangest part of it, we have had so much rain that our motion sensor lights are not working right.
Right.
And so they didn't go off. They should have gone off, but I'm thinking they were just drenched because I walked out there and they didn't go off when I went off out there either. So I just thought it was strange because they've always worked.
Mm-hmm.
But they've never been in that kind of rain either. So,
do they work now?
Yeah,
they started working again.
Dry. Yeah, they started working again. Ooh, is that that portal thing? No,
weird soaking.
Well, I'm sorry I missed that. I'm going to go back and listen to it. I've just been...
Oh, yeah, because it was just... Well, earlier that evening I had smelt it, and I looked and looked. The dog was growling and everything else, and I looked. I couldn't see anything, but I could smell it. And It was still daylight. And then this was later. This was right before the show. I was letting the dogs out one more time before the show started, and I just happened to look over there and saw it move quickly behind the tree. And, of course, you couldn't tell if it ever left that tree because everything past that point was really dark. So it could have easily just slipped off into the darkness. I went the next day and looked for tracks. As wet as it was, you'd think I would find one somewhere, not a single track. So, did I see it? I'm still trying to think I didn't. I'm not counting it. I'm not counting it because I didn't see it long enough to say that is what it is. You know, I'm not going to count it. But if it was who I think it was, then I'm glad because it's the same individual, I believe, that I've seen twice before that I thought had passed on. I know he's old, and I thought he was gone. But apparently he's not. He's just been gone for a long time. It's been 6 years since I saw him the last time. So apparently he's not that old. You know, you can't tell by looking at them how old they are, but it's...
And we don't know how long they live, you know.
Yes. No, we don't. And just because he had silver in his hair, it doesn't mean anything, you know. It just be prematurely goes gray like some people we know, so...
Oh,
anyway. Before we bring our guests on, I just want to let everyone out there know, in case you don't stay for the entire show, next week is, next Thursday night is the beginning of the Easter holiday, where we will not be having a show. The following Thursday, we'll be back with Ron Moorhead of the Sierra Sounds. I know almost everybody knows who he is. So anyway, we'll be back. We're just going to take another day off. I hope y'all don't care, but we're ready to. We're going to be doing some holiday traveling. It's going to make it kind of tough to have a show. So hope everyone has a good and happy Easter. I'll tell you that now. So, okay, which one of you guys wants to read the bio?
Lauren.
Go ahead and bring these gentlemen on.
No, let the Irishman do it.
No. The Irishman's having a horrendous sinus attack tonight, but...
Well, the Irish woman had to do it last week.
Well, you love me, you'll do it again.
Oh, you just... You're lucky. All right. In continuing this series of the North American Sasquatch Researcher on this happy St. Patrick's Day, Nite Callers Bigfoot Radio brings you a special team called the I see NC and I think Nite Callers, the North Carolina Squatch Watchers. They are a #1 rated local cable TV show, WHKY14 Friday nights at 8, Rex Allen Theater. What? I'm confused.
Rex Allen Theater presents.
Okay. Anyway, the North Carolina Squatch Watchers are a Squatch research team from the western part of North Carolina. The team members consist of the team research leader, David Martin, and research members Taylor Cook, Toby Bollock, and Derek Stevenson. Over the past 3 years, every week, they have searched for evidence of Bigfoot and have obtained evidence through hours of video footage. Their evidence consists of knocks, yells, growls, objects being thrown, and rock bashing near riverbanks. In their opinion, they hunt the hottest Bigfoot spot in America based off of their continued Sasquatch experiences. They actually started out as 4 skeptics, but are now 4 Sasquatch believers. This team can be reached at NC Squatch Watchers@gmail.com or can be found on their Facebook page, which is facebook.com/profile.php. Join us for an exciting show tonight, and we will discuss Bigfoot with all 4 team members of North Carolina Squatch Watchers.
You did a marvelous job, Lauren. Thank you for that.
You did.
Hooked on phonics.
And we've only got 3 team members tonight. Toby Bollock lost his mother last night, and he's just not going to be able to come on the show. So everyone be praying for Toby and his family. And as now we are going to bring on the rest of the guys, David Martin, Taylor Cook, and Derek Stevenson. Hi, guys. How are you doing tonight? Welcome to Nite Callers Bigfoot Radio.
Hey, glad to be here. Yeah, glad to be here. Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Yep. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Got your green going?
Yeah.
No, I done got pinched a bunch today, so.
Oh. On purpose? Did you do that on purpose?
Yeah, I did.
Hear that guy.
Yeah. I have one of those guys today. You're not wearing green. You're going to get pinched. Please pinch me. No.
I work with all men. I want them to wear green, trust me.
Well, we're so glad to have you guys on. You guys are great fun. We were talking before the show, and they have such great personalities. We were all talking about being rednecks and everything else, and we all have a southern accent, and even more so than I think Billy does. And Billy's from Texas.
Oh yeah.
Thanks, Paul. Appreciate it.
Well, I'm going to ask each one of you first to individually ask you about how you got started in this. So I'm going to start with David. So, David, you start first and just kind of let our listeners know, how did you get started in Sasquatch of all things?
Yeah, well, as a lot of kids growing up here in, North Carolina, we never had cable TV growing up. We had the old analog signal, and whenever the legend of Boggy Creek would come on, we would all gather around the TV and watch that. And it used to just scare me to death, because, I was afraid to go outside because the Falk monster was going to get me. And, I've always been enthralled with the thought of an undiscovered creature. But now, having said all that, I'm not a believer, or I wasn't a believer at the time, because I've never had an experience that, anything worth speaking of. And I worked for a company, and one of the truck drivers came in whose name is Obi Lale. Very unique individual, great guy. And he just kind of come out one day and said, they found Bigfoot there on my brother's property. I'm like, yeah, right, get out of here. And he goes, no, really. He said, they got a print. And I'm like, yeah, you're full of it. He goes, they're going to go hunting this week for Bigfoot. And so I just said, I want to go. He said, I'll ask.
Heck
well,
yeah.
The next thing I know, he comes back and he says, yeah, Dave, I give my brother your number. And he said, whenever you get the call, you've got to be ready to drop what you're doing and go, because they don't announce when they're going, because we're, even still to this day, we mix it up because we don't want anybody to get used to our schedules so they can't punk us. So
right.
we went on the hunt, and I was an invited guest and went down there. And then, Taylor, were you with me the very first night?
Yeah.
Or the second time?
I think that was the very first night, yeah. Pretty sure.
So, because I know Daniel Troy was with us, and Adam. And, and here again, I'm an invited guest. I'm very quiet. But, Rex asked me, did I believe it? I told him, no, I don't. But, I believe it was, I know his story, but I know it was in the late 1800s, 1880-something, before the first silverback gorilla bones were ever discovered. And it wasn't until the early 1914, somewhere in there, that the first picture of a silverback gorilla was taken. Up until then, it was a legend, okay? And it wasn't until 1920-something that the panda bear was photographed and proven to exist. And the coelacanth, which was thought to be extinct for ever how long, is still living and swimming in the ocean.
Yeah.
So stranger things have happened. So, I came in with a little bit of knowledge and followed these guys around all night, Lauren, and it was really strange because, I just didn't get a whole lot. So it was probably about 1 o'clock in the morning in the middle of the week on a work night, and they're like, well, I guess we're going to pack it up. And I said, can I try Yale? Because I hear them whooping and yelling all night long, and they don't get anything. So I have a very unique talent. I can do like a fire siren, if you will. And so I give out the fire siren yell, and sure enough, the coyotes went nuts. Jackass across the mountain started hee-hawing, and then directly after the jackass started going, we hear this long, drawn out yell. I mean, this back at us, and I've been hooked for almost 3.5, 4 years now. So we make it back up. We make it back up to the base camp where we got ready to leave, and I asked Rex on the exit interview. I said, "Can I come back?" And that was his mistake. He said yes. And other than losing my father here or year before last in June, I have hardly ever missed a hunt. I am hunting weekly, several times a week. In the when I did a lot of it by myself for a while because everybody kind of got busy. But I've got story after story after story. But I've only been. I'm 100% in now. There's no going back for me. I'm so far down the rabbit hole. There's nothing I can drink to get tall enough again to get back home. I am a true believer, and I can only say so much because we signed a confidentiality agreement with a national group. But while discussing the sighting that we had with them back probably almost a year ago, that was the night it all changed for me. Before then, I truly am. I have no fear in the woods. I'm more concerned that we're going to run across a bear or a cougar than I am anything else, and they are both active in the area that we hunt. But May a year ago changed everything for me, and it was the first time that I actually saw what I truly believe is a Sasquatch. And the group, when you'll get a chance to talk to all of us, they'll all tell you that the area that we hunt, we are very fortunate that we don't deal with a single entity. We have a community of Sasquatch, or at least a family at the bare minimum that we interact with on a regular basis. And for me, it has just been outstanding. And now my producer, Rex Lale, and that's whom the show is named after, Rex Allen Theater Presents, because it's Rex Allen Lale. He got started, he already had a little local variety show, and one of his neighbors called him to come look at a print that was over on their property. And it is an incredible footprint. It's the most detailed print in the nearly 4 years now that I've been involved with it that I have ever seen. I'm sure that people may have seen better ones than ours, but certainly from what I've researched online, ours is one of the better ones I've seen. And according to what we've been told, this creature was at least 450 plus pounds to make this print. It's nearly 16 inches long, 19 3/4 inches wide, and it's a very detailed print. And that was found in 2010, 3 miles from our primary hunt spot. Because the area that we hunt, we're a different research group. Now, while I myself will take our team and we do hunt other areas within the western North Carolina area, we have a primary spot that I swear to you, we touch it every week. And the reason we do that is for the last 18 months, on almost a weekly basis, whether we can get it picked up on audio or not, we have a constant communication, and it has gotten so regimented. I'm terrified to even go on vacation because I don't want to lose contact. I kid you not. I feel like if we miss a week, they're going to go, they must have moved and leave. I know the creatures are traveling to our area to see us weekly now, and we'll tell you later on the show. We actually now have a gifting area where they have brought us gifts. We never left them one before they gave us the first, wow. And it has just been incredible the amount of evidence that we've been able to compile in the last 18 months alone, regardless of what we've done in the last 4 years. So that's just a brief synopsis of what got me started, and because I'll talk for 4 hours on this show apparently.
We'll just have to have a part two.
Yeah, I will let some of the other guys. You can ask questions, but we all can share spectacular hunt stories with you. And Taylor and Derek both have been on some of my top 10 hunts with me, where if you weren't a believer and you don't have any notion to want to be an adrenaline Sasquatch junkie, after a hunt like ours, you're hooked for it. It's Sasquatch meth. So.
Well, Taylor, tell us how you got started in it.
That's going to be hard to top, David. Okay, so I was at the young stage. I mean, I probably started when I was 20, okay? Well, I guess I'm 20. Yeah, it was probably 21 when I started. I was still in the young stage, and I was in, the music and stuff. I was into making music, and the guy who was shooting my music video, we're pretty good friends, and we've done, independent film together and stuff. And he tells me, he's like, I'm going to shoot a music video for this guy. They go Bigfoot hunting. Would you want to come? I was like, and I remember when I was younger, I would sit on my uncle's lap and try to get him to tell me Bigfoot stories of, I knew at the time, I think he was probably making it up. I've never asked him for it after this. And I used to tell him to, tell me Bigfoot stories of, whenever he went hunting. And he claimed that Bigfoot stole out of their lunchbox that they had setting up. So, and I would just remember those stories. And my mom was, a big Bigfoot, believer. And she loves watching the cable TV shows about it. And so whenever he told me that, it struck my interest because I remember from when I was a child, getting my uncle to tell me stories. So I was like, sure, I'll come. And he tells me, make sure to wear camouflage because everyone wears camouflage. We got to hide from it. Okay. So I get there, and I'm the only one wearing camouflage from head to toe. And he was dressed like Indiana Jones, and because he's just adventurous. I'm like, he's dressed cool. I'm dressed like a clown right now. So we go out there, and this was the first time, David, because I remember the donkey, and I started laughing because he was like Dr. Doolittle. He talked to every animal. Every animal went crazy, and then the loud pitch just blew me away at the very end of it. It was just, I can't do the call because David makes all the calls. He's a professional at it now. So I mean, but after that, I was hooked after that first night, and every time they would invite me, I'd come, and now we're there on a regular basis. For the past, I had to take a little break because I went to a job, and the job didn't work out. Now I'm back full throttle with it, and I mean and we've got plenty of stories to tell from rocks getting thrown and where we get our nicknames, and this should be pretty fun tonight. But yeah, that's how I got started from that. So
I'm going to ask you all about the nicknames here in a minute, but first I want to hear from Derek.
Oh, yeah.
So, Derek, how did you get started? And thanks for that, Taylor. Thanks.
Oh, yeah.
Well, actually, me and David go to the same church together. We've been going to the same church for, nearly 20 years now or something. And
close to it.
Yeah, and I guess I've probably been part of the hunt team. Well, actually, I didn't go full time there for a while. I was going kind of part time, and but he had asked me there a couple times at church, and when you hear, let's go Bigfoot hunting, you're like, Bigfoot hunting? What? I mean, are you going out there, are you hamming it up, or, what's going on? Because I ain't wanting to go out there and let's fake something, so I wasn't sure what was going to happen, but, I mean, it's truly the real thing, and, I can remember my first hunt or two, you heard a few noises and maybe got a couple knocks or something, but I think it was like that third hunt we went on, and, man, it just let loose, and we had all kinds of stuff happening, and when you go up there at Rex, he takes you through the whole regimen. He sits you down, he shows you the footprint, and he shows you all the sightings in the area and stuff. And man, it starts getting you blood, adrenaline going right off the bat. And then you go down in here in these dark woods, and you're like, whoa, And then I can remember the time. I don't want to, I guess I can go ahead and tell a little story here, but I think this time it's been a year and a half or so ago, but. They got me to throw a rock, and we was at this one area, and there's a river close to us, and I chunked the rock down through there, and I don't know, 150 foot away or whatever it was. I mean, we could hear it splash, and I mean, right after it splashed, you heard something take two big old footsteps in the water, and then it come up. And we've been out on this area during the day, and there's this cliff that this thing had to travail up, and it just started coming up this cliff, bashing its way through these woods, and these woods is hard to even get through. I mean, we've tried to do it, man, and it's hard. This thing come bashing through the woods and was going wah, 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 and all I can remember was thinking, frog monster in my head, because it's kind of tricks on you when you're in the woods like that, and you're like, I can remember I'm sure when they was taping, I sounded so stupid. I don't know if they ever did this one on the air or not, but because I can remember saying, was that a frog? I mean, I knew it wasn't a frog, but I can remember all I could see in my head was frog monster or Bigfoot was holding a frog and squeezing it going, wah, wah, wah. And then Dave was like, no, that wasn't a frog, and I can remember, Toby, I think, was with us that night. I don't know if Taylor was there that night.
Yeah.
Toby and...
it was you, me, and Toby.
Okay, and I can remember, I'm a little bit smaller than they are, and I was in front of them at the time when this thing started running up through the woods, and it crossed the trail, like, right in front of us, and I can remember backing up, like, hugging up against them, like, I need some protection here, and then, it's kind of went on from there, I kind of took, I'm kind of busy, I got 3 girls over here, so, but, man, over the last several months, I mean, we've had so much interaction that it just draws you in there, and I mean, it's got me like hooked, and I don't want to miss like any hunt hardly, and I hate to tell them I might not be able to go this night, because it's like when I don't go, and then David's like, oh man, you missed it last night, and you're like, darn it, man, so, but
don't tell me.
Yeah, so anyway, but that's kind of how it all started. He asked me to come, and I finally, I think David, had to work his way into, he's worked his way into being, kind of part of that crew, of the original crew, I guess, and then it's kind of, come down to, us now, so I'm glad to be part of it.
We've had so many people come and go that just come in there that think that we're going to go out there, and because we do produce a local cable access show. We're in 2.8 million homes, and we have been the number one cable talk show for the last 3 years. And I'm not going to say that it's me, the reason why, but the way that we have started presenting the Sasquatch evidence is completely different than they did it in the past, and we will shut you down quickly if we think that you're out there goofing us, and and you're an invited guest, we'll end the hunt really quick and take you back to the car and put you on your road. We're too serious and we're too passionate about what we're doing. Our core team has so much fun doing this. We're not going to let one person come in and ruin what we've worked so hard to build. Our reputation is impeccable. Because, we have an opportunity, we can do anything we want, but we will not offer anything as evidence if we're not sure what it is. We record all kinds of sounds. We, out of 100% of the stuff we give on air, 60% of it, we'll go on camera and explain away. It's the 40% that drops your jaw and stops you in your tracks, and you go, oh, my God, what is that? It just, we've worked really hard to get this reputation. We work now even harder to keep it. And, but, the night Derek threw that rock, Derek, of all of us, Derek is the athlete. Now, Derek might be about an inch and a half shorter than the rest of us, but he's got twice the muscles of any of the rest of us, okay? And he chunked, probably a half a pound rock, maybe a little bigger, at least 150, 200 yards. That's, I'm going to say about 200 feet. Let's go that way. To hit a creek that enters into the Henry River. Now, this creek is almost a small river by itself because it's so big we can't cross it. The current is so strong. You're gonna lose your gear if you get off your feet. You're done. And then some of our cameras are minimum $1,000 a pop, and we can't afford to replace them. So when Derek hit that water that night, and we immediately, whatever the creature was, come out of that water, when it traversed a 70-foot cliff like it wasn't nothing. And see, Derek said it sounded like a frog, but we call it the root. We hear a sound that I've heard nowhere else on any of the cable shows or any of the research that I've done online, and I'll offer it to our listeners tonight. The best I can describe it is root, 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 root. And it just... It repeated that, but it wasn't like, you heard this little bitty whisper way off in the distance. It was yelling, root, 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 and it came all the way up the valley that this thing came through. Derek and I and Taylor and I had did it on a previous day hunt. It's nearly impassable in the summertime because of the Cheney briars and the holly bush. In the wintertime, it's so difficult. You cannot do it at night. It's got to be a daytime to go through certain portions of the forest that we hunt. This thing came through there like a bulldozer, like there was nothing in its way, and crossed the trail about 125 foot in front of us, enough that we could see the dark shadow that is all we could make out. And Derek, it was the night that changed everything because he backed up. And you could almost see his eyes from the back of his head. They were so wide. And he walks up and he steps around behind me and Toby and peeks out and goes, guys, what is that? And Eric, you now know why we come hunting. I think you have just seen a Sasquatch. So our group has been handpicked. The reason that it's the 4 core members is because we're honest, we don't hoax, and we don't put on airs for anybody that comes there. We have invited guests, and we'll do our very level best to get them an experience. But if it doesn't happen, it just doesn't happen. Case in point, Derek and Taylor got to go with us last week, and Rex had a surprise guest on the property, and I didn't, I knew obviously when I was going up to hunt he was going to be there, but I didn't know prior to. We wasn't there 15 minutes, and we were getting knocks. It's like, hello, where you at? We hadn't heard from you. Yeah. And and they were, and we were actually doing a little live Facebook feed on Taylor's cell phone. They were so loud it picked up on his phone, and that's incredible. Because we all know your cell phone's not going to be better than more than about 2 foot away, and you're not going to hear nothing. So I was impressed that he was able to get that on his cell phone. We haven't been able to review the footage of that night yet, but we had a spectacular night last week. So it just keeps on coming.
Well, could you tell us a little bit about Toby, even though he's not here? I know he's a valuable team member.
Toby is a blessing in disguise for this team. He is the tallest of us. He has me by about 3/4 of an inch. So I get to look up to him just a little bit.
Gentle giant.
Toby, he is so calm and cool. under pressure. He doesn't rattle easily. He wants to make sure that whatever we do, we take the safest approach. Toby is a retired fireman, and he is I think he spent 20 plus years as a volunteer fireman, and so we've got a great resource on our team. He is an avid woodsman. He is from big game to small game, birds and animals. He knows the woods inside and out. He teaches me about things that I don't know in the woods, and I consider myself fairly knowledgeable. So he's helped us a lot of times where we might think a sound is just something, naturally we would hear. He'd like, no, that's not, guys, I'm telling you, that's not anything I've heard before. That's not a bird. It's not a frog. It's, he helps us discern some of the noises that we hear. But Toby, again, was visiting church, and just kind of out of the blue, I thought he was goofing with me a little bit, and just said, hey, I hear you Bigfoot hunt, man. I'd love to do that. And so we talked for a little bit, and next thing I know, he's on a hunt with me. And then he ain't never been on one since. I mean, he never doesn't go. He's always there. He's going. When we going? Are we ready? We got a plan. We got a guest. Oh my God! Can we go? Can we go back? And we got to go. I mean, Toby is just he's hooked, and I'm so glad. So we sit down. When I had the thought, I've been toying around with the idea of forming my own group, the NC Squatch Watchers, for a couple of years now. But it's hard to find people that'll commit, and so all I ask my group is if they'll just commit to at least one hunt a month. That's that's the commitment that I ask for. Well, God, they just flood me now, and so I mean I've got a super group that I can depend on, and we all support each other, and and I can always the one thing I can depend on is when the crap hits the fan, I'll be by myself. So, but hey, that's okay. Because typically before Toby came, everybody would leave me when it all broke loose. So, Toby, let's see. Derek came. Derek, you were there. You had been on a couple hunts before Toby, yep. But now Derek never left me. But I can't. Now Taylor, I don't want to talk bad about you, but Taylor might have left me a time or two. So that goes all the way back to the nicknames.
All of us.
Yeah, that goes back to the nicknames.
Yeah. What about the nicknames? Whose nicknames are what and why?
We'll let David take.
Okay, come on, David.
Am I nominated? Okay. Well,
you're nominated.
I'll start out with me. When I first started going, there were a multitude of younger guys going that were, 19 and 20 years old, and just full of themselves and Mr. Macho, and they got their girl candy hanging on their arms, and they're coming in. I'm going to show you guys what's going on, and every time I went in the woods, they seen a blob squatch. And y'all familiar with the blob squatch, right?
Oh, yes.
Okay, so blob squatches scare everybody half to death, which normally winds up to be a tree stump or a cedar tree. But we had a couple of occasions where we actually thought we saw some movement. And I'm like, where? And we pointed, and I just ran in like a bat out of hell. And didn't think twice about where I was going, and the fact that it was 1 o'clock in the at night, and that this is a very dangerous area with 200-foot cliffs and sheer rock walls and all those wonderful things. And I got in a little bit of trouble a time or two, getting hemmed up, but I'm at the time I was the only group member that would take and go hunt by himself. At times I would go, about a mile away and just do my own independent hunt. And so I got the moniker Super Dave because I just did whatever needed to be done. and I wound up with some tremendous evidence on top of it. But now Taylor is my hero. I'm telling you the honest truth. We were 3 years ago in June. It was in June because we took a 4-week leave after this to let the area cool down before we went back. But we were down on near the Henry River, and the next thing before we knew what had happened, Taylor had just did a really neat tree knock. And the little old limb he was using had broke, and I just said, just sling it on down there towards that creek. And when he slung it down there, I mean, we didn't know what had happened at the time, but something went boom, 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 and just made this horrendous noise. And, now I'm filming with, like a $150 camera at this point, and didn't get any really good footage, but you could hear all of the sound and movement. And Taylor and Bronson was with me. They're going ape nuts. What is that? What is that? We got to go. Hey, it's time to get out of here. We need to get back with the group. I mean, just And so once we ascertained that we clearly have movement in front of us, we've got movement behind us, and we have a third creature up the hill about 100 foot to the left of us, sort of behind us. And I can't see anything, but I can see the brush moving. And when this particular time, we had our radios, and I told Rex, I said, get ready, it's coming your way. And Rex has got one of the best growls we've ever got on tape. And it was a very deep, visceral growl. This creature traversed a valley that was about a quarter mile wide and long to get through in about 45 seconds, and was on top of the second hunt team. Well, that was the night that I got the idea that these guys might not stick around me when it got thick. But we'll fast forward to, I guess, March, April, May, June, about June of last year. Taylor and Bronson and BJ and myself were down there, and we were doing an investigation, and we were at the gifting site, and we were actually filming it, and all of a sudden something comes crashing through the woods. I mean, and you can clearly, we've got it on film, and I hear it, and all of a sudden, bam, Taylor runs into me like a bulldozer, and just about takes me off my feet, and he busts through poor BJ and him, and I of course, I don't know why, but on camera I said, just come here, and I want everybody to calm down. When we realized what had happened in the woods, I went, and so that's the night that Taylor Run was born. So
Taylor Run.
Yeah, Taylor Run. And he got stuck with that moniker. And now old Derek's my hero. And if there's any sign of danger, well, you can be sure that Derek doesn't want to go near it. So he'd be like, you sure you want to go over? And I've even invited them guys to kind of split up on their own a time or two and kind of go off, and Derek, tell them what your answer is.
The last time Dave was wanting to go up, of course, Toby, he's like, I'll go with you, Dave. I was like, I don't know about that, man. You going to leave me and Taylor here? Ourselves, the two, which I said the two most bravest, but, I didn't really mean that. But so I talked them out of it. Of course, I got to go with David, and Run got to stay with Toby. So yeah. But David is truly he has no fear. I mean, one of our hunt a few weeks ago, I had an idea that I've been throwing rocks, and sometimes we get something, sometimes we ain't. I can't keep on trying to make that one time happen again. But this time I was like, well, let's just throw a rock every direction. I mean, something might be around, and this time we did it on 3, and Taylor seen something go through the woods, and Taylor was like, David. And so David was like, watch out, give me the flashlight. I mean, it just tore straight in there, and that's kind of how it is. Super Dave took off, and and run. Say, no, he come in right after David, but it's cool, yeah.
So what is your nickname, Derek?
Huh?
What is your nickname?
David said Derek Danger.
Derek Danger.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about Toby? What is his nickname?
We call Toby Tango. Because Toby's real quiet. He's real laid back. He don't get bent out of the frame. He don't get rattled very easy. And when push comes to shove, trust you me, he's ready to tango. So I kind of feel good with all the muscle I got around me, because if I shoot my mouth off and stick my foot in it, I know I got enough muscle to back it up, and I'm just like, all right, Tango, take care of it. So we've got a well-rounded crew.
Yeah.
Go.
David's old catchphrase, he was wanting to be the first person to ever get a Bigfoot bruise. So,
yep, that's my goal. I want to be the first person. But we've I guess the biggest scare we've ever had on property is we got shot at one night, and so. But other than that, we've never been in a situation where I felt like the creatures were going to harm us. So.
Well, we have like about 12 minutes before intermission, so do you have enough time to give us one of your stories?
Taylor, I tell you what, we're going to back up and we're going to explain the gifting site to you, and we started. It's been about May, about this time last year, March. Because it was still kind of cold, okay? But March, April, or May, I can't remember when last year, the area that we hunt, the entry point is on about 100 acres of private land. And then the Henry River splits off the property, and the South Mountain State Park adjoins us, okay? So we have a very large hunt area. But the area that we go in on is fairly monitored, and there's not a lot of activity. It's controlled, so we know what goes on that property, and our group has the primary access. Even the family doesn't go on the property because of the Sasquatch or the research that we do. So we were going down, and there's certain areas we can actually ride some golf carts because the Rex doesn't allow gas-powered vehicles on the property because he tries to preserve the layout and the beauty of the land, and he doesn't want to cut ruts in it. And he's very conservative about what he wants to do, and I admire him for that. So we were going up one of our trailheads, and and we call it a cart path, but because it's big enough, it's actually wide enough you can just about drive a golf cart through it. And we're walking up through there, and I see this huge river rock, and I call it a river rock because now on this property we find that there's rocks in the forest everywhere. There's rocks on the trails. I mean, this place is just you can find a rock wherever you want to. But there is about a 45-pound river rock. This thing was perfectly cleaned. There was no dirt on it. There was no spot where you could tell it had been pulled out of the ground or anything like it. It was a perfectly clean rock. Well, on up in front of it, about, I'll say, maybe 5 to 10 feet, there's a smaller rock about, say, 15 to 20 pounds. So I get on the phone and I say, hey, Rex, has anybody been down here, in the last week? Because I was just here the week before. Were they moving any rocks around? Has anybody been on the property? He's like, no, there's been nobody there but you. So I told him, I said, okay, well, we got 2 rocks over here. I do not want you, if y'all walk the property this week, do not touch these rocks. So we left them alone. Well, we go back week number 2, and we find what we think is a couple more rocks, and what it wound up to be was one about the size of a football that had, I guess, had been smacked against another rock, and it was cracked in two. So that was kind of the third rock. So we just chunked it back down in the woods and said, okay, let's see what happens. Well, week number 3 is when it really, I mean, there's no doubt in my mind what's happening. There's a third rock laid up about 5 foot in front of, this is going on an uphill cart path or a trailhead, in front of the second rock. So I've got large, medium, and small now, if you will. But we actually, you could see where this creature kneeled down on its knee, and there is this huge handprint where it laid its hand, and it's like it stretched way out to put that rock just right where it wanted it. And we tried our best to figure out how we were going to try to get that handprint cast somehow. And I wished we'd had a better opinion from experts. We would have attempted it, but we photographed and videoed it to death, but we weren't able to cast it. So I thought, okay, it's left us 3 rocks. There's no doubt in my mind. This thing, whatever left this thing, has got a handprint bigger than any softball glove I've ever put my hand in, okay? So it's this huge handprint, and the thumb is totally in the wrong position. The thumb is back where your wrist is. I mean, you know, if I'm holding my hand out and I'm saying I got about a 9-inch span between my thumb and my index finger, well, we can say about 14 inches or better on this creature's handprint. So I took on the trailhead and I stacked those rocks up 1, 2, 3, and just did small or large, medium, small. And I thought, okay, let's see what happens. Came back the next week and just was going ape nuts because something had took its hand, in my opinion, and just grabbed that bottom rock and just flung them uphill, and separated them by a good 8 to 10 feet distance between the large rock. They were just flipped crazy style. And I mean, uphill. And I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that this thing just kind of got PO'd about how we stacked these rocks. And that's the night we were sitting there, and we're filming, and I'm, as you guys can tell, hardly am I ever rendered speechless. But I couldn't hardly speak on camera. I was so thrilled at what we were witnessing, and I'm dialing Rex because Rex is, he's at home. He's like, hey, if you find anything, call me. Well, the phone rings the second time, and that's when the creature threw the rock out of the woods at us. And that's, we gave chase. And while, that night I couldn't actually see, I fell twice just trying to get into the woods. I was moving so fast. Lost my cell phone case and the whole 9 yards, and, but, you were trying to talk yourself out of what you saw earlier, Lauren, or Lori.
Yeah.
I could see the movement of the maybe the limbs and the bushes, but I could never see the figure. And it moved at such a speed that it was impossible for me to keep up with. And this area has turned out to be the hot spot for us for interaction, and has been now for a solid year of constant interaction. So, I'll tell you that one, and we'll kind of go from there because we've got so many it's hard to choose from. So y'all just tell me what you want to hear.
Okay, I want to know. You were talking about the gifting area, and you said earlier that you were waiting for them to gift you first. What did they gift you with?
Well, that's what I was saying. I had never thought about leaving, apples or fruits or anything like that for the what we thought were Sasquatch at this point until the rocks appeared. The large rocks I think were placed. I mean, they are obviously watching us, and they know the trails that we go in to get into our hunt area, that we travel. So, when they started leaving us gifts, we would start leaving them, and we might place a small stick or something on that rock pile. We'll come back the next week and the stick is moved or it's placed in a different area. Here a few weeks back, maybe a month back, we've had more rocks show up in the gifting site. There was 2 new rocks put there, and for the life of us, we believe that they brought them. So we gave them a 3rd rock put on there. Now, 2 weeks ago, when we saw the movement, we entered in the woods at the gifting site. We leave markers where we know in this area, because it's almost impossible to see a footprint, because you ever try to find a footprint in the middle of the forest, with leaves and moss, it's very difficult.
Oh, yeah.
So we try to find ways that are inconspicuous to see if something has traveled through there. Well, we'll take small dead twigs, and we'll place them, around areas where something's got to have a large enough footprint to cover 3 or 4 of them, and smash them down. So, like, if I were to walk through, I might get 1 of them, but I'm not going to get 3. You know what I mean?
Right.
So we went in so fast, I don't know if we were the ones that disturbed the area. I don't think we did. But when we checked last week, almost every marker that we put up was mashed flat. So here again, we went in so quick we forgot about our own markers, because in this area, this thing will bring us giant limbs and lean up against trees. We have found the X's multiple times. We found a new one last week that I know has not been there. We were there probably 8 months ago, and it's been placed there since then. And we're having this constant interaction lately with a 20-foot limb that showed up. It's a small sapling that's been broke off at the base, and it was laying up against a tree where we have close to the same area where we've had a lot of. We actually tossed an orange up into the woods here about 8 months ago, and said, "Here you go. We're just going to give this to you." Tossed it up in the woods, and less than a minute and a half later, it threw something back over our heads at us. So we decided to throw. We threw a potato up in the woods, and then it wasn't long after that we got something thrown back over our heads. Now we were able to find one of the rocks that it threw. I've got the last rock we've got was about a 4-pound rock. I've got a 5-pound rock or better in my wife's trunk of her car. I've got another small one out here in the burb. I'm getting a rock collection, if you will. There's so many things that we find, and people say, "Well, how do you find a rock?" Or well, have you guys ever been walking through the woods and see something that just doesn't make sense? If you're going through the woods, practice this. Pull a rock out of the ground or pull it off of the leaves, and you'll see the impression that it's left and the wetness of the rock that's underneath it. You can say, well, that rock's been there for a month or 2 or maybe better. You know how rock's it's got a seat that it sets in? Well, how do you explain a rock that's laying fresh on top of the leaves or the grass that's completely dry and void of any kind of ground rot? It doesn't belong there. And so we know that when we find these, that these are the ones that they're thrown at us because they're completely out of place in the forest. You look and then, of course, this one little area happens to be heavily, it's a lot of pine trees, so there's a lot of pine needles. Well, this rock in this particular day was laying right on top of the pine needles. So, no doubt in our mind that it was the rock that it threw at us.
Well, that is a great place to stop. We're going to go ahead and go to intermission. When we come back, they're going to tell us about their interaction.
Hello?
Squatch Watchers. All right, so you guys want to continue on? I'm eager to hear more from you.
Sounds good. Hey, I want to ask Taylor a question real quick. Taylor, were you with us tonight? Since Toby's not here, obviously, were you with us tonight when Seth and Kaylin was there, and we got surrounded down there at what we call the nest?
No, remember that was no. I wasn't there.
Yeah, you were working on the railroad, literally.
Yeah.
Well, I want to tell this one real quick, and I want to give you guys an opportunity to jump in there and share your own stories and experiences. But very few times have I felt uneasy squatch hunting. Okay, and my daughter goes with me on occasion. She gets a real kick out of it. She's heard some incredible knocks, and she's made a few yells and got some return calls, and she's my own little personal hero. But there is an area of the property that's just got nicknamed the nest because of the way some of the lumber or dead trees were found. It kind of looked like it could have been a nest, and so to speak. But nevertheless, we were down there literally about this time last year, and it was only about 11 o'clock of the evening. It wasn't very late, and we had some knocks, and we'd heard some things, and we hear a lot of movement that we can't tell, and sometimes we can smell the creature, when it's in the air. Sometimes we can't. We can't always, explain that, but nevertheless, we were down there, and we heard the root. And whatever this thing was, it started and it wouldn't stop. It was, I'm gonna just this is kind of what we heard, and about the volume that we heard. Root.
Wow.
And it kept on. I mean, so now we're down there, and Toby's with us, and whenever my daughter or we have fairly younger adventurers with us, we make sure that they're in between us. Okay, they'll never be left alone because we're very safety conscious. Because there's coyotes on the property. We have clear evidence of their activity on the property, and the only time I've ever stopped an investigation was because of what we think was a cougar. And we actually ran up on it, and I think that it could have been stalking us at the time, but that's yet to be determined. But it scared us so bad we were done for the night. So
right.
We were. I told Toby. I said, Toby, since it's only the two of us, I said, obviously, if you'll stay here with Kaylin and Seth, we'll. And Ty might have been with us too. I can't remember, but I said, I'm going to walk on down the trailhead to the nest, and I'm going to see if I can do a call and get this thing to answer me. So as I'm walking down, this thing is still going, root. And I can tell that it's I can't see beyond this valley, so I don't know if it's on the other side of the creek or the Henry River, yet to be determined. But this is the area of the property where there is about 150 to a 200-foot cliff that is probably a football field and a half away from us at this point. So I go down to the trailhead, and I give just a quick little whoop, and before I know it, you can hear this thing come. I mean, it's moving fast, and it's the intensity of it's gotten faster in the little root noises it made, but it traversed the body of water. It came up that incline and that cliff like it was nothing, and it moved off less than about 150 foot from us, and it was root. It was so loud and so visceral that I'm like, oh my God, and of course we do not, we've got night vision equipment, but we do not have. We borrowed a FLIR at one point, much more difficult to use than you would think. But we did not have night vision goggles to allow us to reach out any distance. So what I don't realize in between this is, finally Toby, breaks on radio silence and goes, "David, can you head back?" So I start walking back, and he's like, "Are you making calls?" No, I've not made but the one call, initially, and that was it. And he goes, "So you're not making a noise now?" I'm like, "No, I'm walking towards you." He said, "Something is between you and us now."
Wow.
So I've got the creature that's in my back, and now there's something that is actually in the trailhead, this trailway, if you will, that is now between myself and Toby and his small group. So by the time I walked back up, Toby said whatever it was there moved off, and it would be to my right, whichever way you want to, just for reference, trying to tell people in thin air on radio. So there's a creature behind us, and there's one off to our right. Now, to our backs is our main trailhead to go out on, and we're a half mile away from the closest vehicle. So we're standing there talking, and now we have a third creature up on the bank to our left, and they're all making this roof, 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 roof. And they're now they're sequencing between. You could hear two of them very, very clearly. The other one was more. I don't even want to give you the response because it's hard to imitate. But we could hear all three of them. We have a phenomenon on property we call wild man chatter. Have y'all ever heard the chatter, the clicking, and the almost the words? I've had that.
It's almost like a babble, sort of, kind of like a babble.
It is. Yeah. And I have a terrific story about it. I got goosebumps just thinking about it because it tested every nerve I have in my body. So, but anyway, so we're standing there, and Toby and I are looking at each other. I said, "Toby, I don't know what's going on, and I'm going to say this very politely because I don't. My daughter just went to bed. At this particular time, my daughter may have had an unexpected visitor with her that we weren't aware of, and we were getting a lot of aggressive tones from these creatures." Well, I told Toby, I said, "You know what? It really, let's call this one a night." Seth was begging us to take him back to the vehicle. He was wanting to go, and I'm like, let's just call it a night. Well, when we started out, the one that was to our left up on the bank, we could hear something take off, moving very fast and very heavy through brush that I don't want to traverse in the daytime, let alone at night. And I wish in your mind, just think of a Cheney briar. Do y'all know what Cheney briar is?
Well, we have briar here. It's like a vine that has leaves on it, but it's thorny.
It's that big green, thick, about as big as your pinky, green vine with these thorns from hell on it.
Yes. Yeah. We have the same thing.
We call that a Cheney briar because if you get wrapped up in it, it's like get eaten by a chainsaw. So this stuff it's everywhere. And this creature went through that Cheney briar like it was nothing. Well, now, Derek will tell you, from this winter and all the snow that we've had, we've got some downed, dead trees that are in the trailhead that will move eventually. But, we're there every week. We can tell you when every leaf drops, every twig, anything that's out of place, we know where it is. So on the way in, Toby and I, we're recognizing our surroundings. We're mentally marking our spots, okay? When we went out, we were stopped in our tracks because Toby's like, "What is this?" I'm like, "Toby, I'm 6'2 3/4", okay? So I throw that 3/4 there because I want to be 6'3", So I didn't have to duck coming in, but I couldn't. If you were 5 foot, you were ducking going out. Okay, this creature came out above us at an angle from probably less than maybe 1/10 of a mile from us, and it moved quick, and it grabbed 3 saplings. 3 saplings about half as big as your forearm. One of them maybe as big as your forearm, okay? And it grabbed 3 of them and twisted them like pipe cleaners and stuck them up into the trees that are in the trailhead. Didn't break them. It twisted them and intertwined them and stuck them into the trailhead. These saplings were probably 25, 30 foot tall. And it just completely shut down that trail.
Oh, my
goodness.
goodness.
If you can't talk
So were they
yourself
trying to
out
trap
of it.
you or keep you out? They were trying to trap you.
I'm thinking that they didn't want us to leave. And, you know, here again, without saying anything terrible, we've often tried to figure how we can recreate that unexpected visitor to see if that does play a part in our investigations, because we've had another far more seasoned Sasquatch researcher say that very well could play a very key role in anything that we do. And so we're very conscious of that now. And when, you know, it's hard to ask people that when you're going on a hunt. You know, we sound like a scene from Ghostbusters, you know, the old Bill Murray bit. But, you know, it was an incredible night. And now Taylor can tell you, last year, as we would head out of our site actually goes up into, you know, a paved road, and there's actually a business at the end of it, if you will, and I can't tell you the names of anything on air.
Of course.
But we have had so many occasions where we were followed up. Now, it's a mile drive to get from the top of the hill down to the bottom of the valley. We start out when we're standing on the ground at the Henry River. We're 147 foot above sea level. The tallest point on the property that's privately owned, we're nearly 1,000 feet above sea level.
Wow!
And looking at the mountains in front of us, they're at least twice that size starting out. They only get bigger from there. So we got some fairly good area to hunt. So when I tell you that we drove up from the base camp on this little access road that's, you know, you dust your taillights off kind of deal when you go around the curves. You know, you can't meet another vehicle because one of you's backing out, okay? We got up to the top. Took us maybe 5 minutes at the most driving. These creatures, plural, can run up that mountain, crest the top of it, and come back up the level part and be down there yelling, giving us knocks, and throwing things at us, trying to coerce us to stay. Wow. So I have heard the wild man chatter. I just think that sounds neat to say the wild man chatter.
That's a good name for it.
And I've never been able to record it because it's so faint and so far away. So Toby and Taylor, and I don't remember if I don't think Derek was with us on this one. I told Toby, it's on the way up, I said, look, I'm going to open the door. Don't you dare stop. I'm going to exit this vehicle just like Indiana Jones, okay? I mean, for real. You don't let off the gas. You just keep going. And I've got camera in hand. I said, and y'all just go do your normal routine like we normally would just to end the hunt. Don't change a thing. And there's a little canopy where there's an antique vehicle parked up here in this area. And so right when we got there, I just bailed out and hid over behind the truck and had my camera rolling, and it was all fun and games until I heard them running. Now, at this point, Laurie, I still haven't had a physical visual sighting yet, other than seeing movement that I clearly knew was a creature, okay? I hadn't had my, oh my God, but there were at least 2 creatures that ran up and stopped in the area that we've always thought that they were at, and I could hear them clearly talking to each other. And it unnerved me so bad that I could not move. I was laying flat on my stomach with my camera rolling for sound purposes only, okay? And I'm sitting there and I'm listening to this, and I am just in awe of what I'm hearing because it is a clear language. But it nearly did me in because a third creature moved in behind me.
Oh, my God.
And was talking to the other two on the other side. So, now, Taylor, you're going to have to help me out on this. Is this the night they got us with the tree?
No,
because our batteries ran dead?
Yeah, that was the week before. Remember, because that's why we did this.
That's why we did it, correct.
Yeah.
The week prior, Taylor and Toby and myself had hunted. It was like 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, and at this time, we did not have the equipment that we have now. Our backup batteries were dead. Our SD cards were full. We had nothing in our arsenal that would work to record. So we were having experiences, and we just decided, okay, it's 3 o'clock in the morning, guys, we're going to shut it down and we're going to go. So we went up, to the trailhead, and we were going to do just an exit interview, just with ourselves, because we have a daytime movie camera that's absolutely useless at night. So we were going to use it just to film an ending, tell the viewers on our show how the hunt went that evening. Well, before we can get anything going, we can hear the knocks, okay? So Taylor and Toby and I walked down to this big pole barn, if you will, where something has just knocked a pee-pee out of one of these big telephone poles on this barn. So it came right up to the edge of the property. So I'm standing in front of this pole shed, and I kid you not more than 25 feet away from us, 4 foot in front of us, 25 foot to the side, something grabs up. This tree was about 20, 25 feet tall, and it was an older tree that was dead. But you ever see a dead tree in the woods, you think, I'm just going to go over and push it over, and you go hit it, and you're like, and it's still stiff as a rock. Okay, that's what this tree is. We have attempted to push this tree over before, so we know that this tree just isn't going to fall. Well, just so happens that there are 3 concrete culverts laying in front of this tree and a John boat at the edge of this forest. This creature ran over there and grabbed that tree and slammed it, and it went crack, boom, and hit the John boat and them concrete, jarred the ground, and I kid you not, Lori, before you could say what happened, I was in the woods chasing this creature. Now, I could see the movement, but I could not see the creature. I'm about 100 feet in, and I step into, you know what a tomato cage is?
A tomato? What?
Let me tell you what a tomato cage is. A tomato cage is this contraption
I know what a tomato cage
put around
is.
It's a fire that goes around the vine so the tomatoes can grow up it. Well, somebody decided to throw one out in this woods, and I stepped in it. And when my foot came up, it caught my left leg and took it out from under me. And I literally did a Superman through the woods and found the remnants of a 100-year-old rock wall that was half buried that my left shin found perfectly, though. So, the tip of my foot finally caught like a break in midair and slammed me into the dirt. And I'm like, this is going to hurt. So I get up and try to give chase again, only to realize that the tomato cage is still stuck on my foot, and it took my left leg out from under me a second time. So I decided then, I'm like, okay, I got to get untangled. So I feel like I've got a compound fracture of my left shin because I don't know how bad I'm hurt. I just know that I want to cry, but I can't because I know Toby's coming, But, so Toby, in his infinite wisdom, goes and gets a flashlight before he enters in and goes, Dave, are you okay? And very calm and cool and collective, and and I'm like, yeah. No, I mean, no, really, I didn't let on, but I was really hurt. My leg was killing me. But now Toby and I, now we're in the woods and we are in chase of this creature, which we believe to be a Sasquatch, and Taylor is safely under the pole barn with his flashlight behind the fence going, I got him up here! I'll stop waiting for you! He still hadn't matured enough to come in after it at this point. Now, to Taylor's advantage or credit, he has grown a lot as a Sasquatch researcher and adventurer, and he will enter in on the hunts and the chases now, so... Yeah, but that changed. I mean, we were in awe of ourselves, even though we didn't see the creature. We obviously knew that there could be no other explanation. So I mean, it is incredible. But the night, it was probably 4 months later before Toby actually heard the wild man chatter. And before that, he was the only one besides me that had ever clearly heard it. I almost cried because it was, for me, it was like, I'm not crazy. It's really, but you've been in the woods. You guys have been doing this a lot longer than I have. Your adrenaline gets pumping. Mm-hmm. You're on the verge of having this, climactic moment. You just think that, you're going to see a Sasquatch, and your mind is just racing. The endorphins are going, the dopamine's pumping, and am I overly excited? Is my mind manufacturing this? Is it really happening? And when someone else can look at you and say, "Oh my God, what is that?" And is that the wild man chatter? I mean, it's confirmation. It's not just me. I'm not imagining this. I'm not just. I'm the only one on the show that can describe wild man chatter. Well, guess what? Now Toby can describe it. Now Derek can describe it. Now Taylor can describe it because they've all heard the wild man chatter. Now, I'm no longer by myself. So Taylor, Derek, y'all jump in there.
And you're doing great, David.
Yeah, I know, but I want to hear from the team. So.
No, you're doing good, man. Yeah.
He's doing excellent. We do want to hear from Run and Derek Danger. We want to hear from Run and Danger.
I'm gonna leave Taylor here for a second, and I'm gonna ask him to let me tell the last 30 seconds of this story. But Taylor, tell them about the night. The only thing we can't tell is about the apple because we can't be 100% sure of it. Okay, but tell them about that night and the experiences that we had leading up to us leaving the property.
Okay, I've got my notes. Okay, it was May the 8th. I remember because we tried to go back on that surveillance camera or whatever that's set up.
Yeah.
And okay, so that's the night we threw the potatoes, right? The same night.
I believe that you're correct on that. I think it is the same night that we threw the potatoes.
Okay, we threw the potatoes.
But tell them what happened going in before we threw the potatoes. See, I left that out for you to tell.
Okay, the only thing because that night my head got fried from what happened at the very end of the night, because that was what scared me to death. So going in, let's see. Oh, the handprint? No, the handprint was at the end too on the car. Right?
Yeah, that was at the end too. But remember what happened? What was the reason that we decided to sit down in that spot and kind of give the fruit and the potatoes as gifts that night? Remember what happened, that we all stopped in our tracks?
Kind of thing. I know there was movement. The walking through the side. Let's see, because
that was 5-pound rock that's in the trunk of Misty's car.
Oh, the one that hit and rolled.
Your poor wife toting around all these rocks.
Yeah. I keep getting my knots mixed up. Let's see what we got, because there's so much. Okay.
There's so many of them, it's hard to keep them straight. But threw that big old rock down through the woods, and it rolled across the trail right behind us. Yeah. And we thought something ran across behind us. It was so loud. And actually, Taylor and I, the video footage, when it was downloaded, got downloaded into a video file that was dated 2012. Yeah. It has been lost up until about 4 months ago that we finally found the video file that it's in so that we can go back and actually do some editing and review it, but we have not had time to go back and actually pull it up to look at it yet. So that's what started the night off, and it's why we stopped in the spot.
Yeah, I mean, that was probably the best hunt. That's the night that turned me from sketch. Like, besides the rock throwing and you doing the get over here and my name being born, Taylor Run theory you have, the roar that night. That's the part that stuck in my head, was because you wanted to tell the last 30 seconds of that, because obviously you couldn't hear what I was saying because the window was barely cracked. But I mean, 3 grown men locked themselves in a car that night. I know that. And
well, tell us about it, Taylor. How did you end up getting in the car?
Well, it was the end of
he
that
ran.
night. Yeah, I ran. Okay, it was the end of that night. I mean, we'd have the potatoes. We'd thrown potatoes in the woods. Stuff had been getting thrown back. It's like it was trading with us. We would throw, like, I brought a bag of apples, oranges, and potatoes, and it seemed like every time we throw it back, we sat down, and the camera, we had the cameras rolling, but they were on the ground. And we had me and David, we met a guy named Tim Watner who had the theory of, if you get close to a light bulb, you can always hear the ringing sound in it, the little sound. Now, Bigfoot's out in the woods, they're not used to a sound, and if you take electronics out there, they're going to hear that. You're basically going, hey, we're over here, because they're going to hear that sound. Well, we set the cameras on the ground, trying to cover up the sound, and that's when everything was getting thrown back. So we go down, we walk down, and we put an apple on a cone, but we can't tell that story because we can't prove that. We have a team member that's no longer with us now from what David was telling you, because we don't know if he done the apple thing. Like, it was like we have everybody on camera, but he's standing behind the camera while we're videoing the handprint. Now, we don't think it was him, but he's no longer with us. That's how, like, true we take this show. Like, we take it to heart. And so, but we cannot explain this roar that I'm getting ready to just, like, will you hear, David, you want to make the sound effects?
Well, I want to ask Lori and it's Bill, if he's still with us. Have y'all ever, I mean, I know y'all have had to hear the iconic yell, but for us, we have so many vocalization patterns. The root is the most weird one we've ever heard. Yeah. We've actually thought that we have heard a raspy laugh, if you will. Okay. We have been whistled at. We have moans, groans, growls, and yells. But only once have we ever been roared at. And I don't mean pleasantly. So have y'all ever experienced a roar?
I have heard a roar from a distance, but it wasn't at me. But it was a long howl that ended in a roar. It was like a supersonic wolf and then a supersonic lion. But it was distant. I've never been roared at, but other people that say they have been roared at say they could feel it in their chest. It was
right from about 100 feet away.
Yeah.
This creature could not have been. If it was 100 feet away, it was too far. We have had so many sightings at our base camp. We actually have a cabin on our base camp that's been there for 40 plus years. Recently, it has scratched the side of the walls of the cabin. It has beat on the cabin. I've got vocalizations that's made right outside the doors of the cabin. It's all on camera. So,
really?
Having said that, the night Taylor, we were winding down. It was 3:00 in the morning, and I'm mad because I'm frustrated because our equipment is crappy. We don't have enough battery. We don't have enough SD card. We just don't have enough. I mean, when you're self-funding a show and your equipment and you're working full time, it's frustrating to know that I don't have anything rolling when the best evidence ever came our way. But this creature, and I'm going to give you the best rendition I can without blowing the radio speakers out here, but it started out in 3 stages, 3 distinct different roars. It went at us like this. We were all fairly close together, at least 25 feet away from the car. A little Nissan or a Scion Cube, if you will.
Scion Cube, yeah.
Scion Cube, and you hear, and then the next 3 sounds I hear is when the doors are being slammed, and there's 3 sets of lips poking out of a little crack above the car going, "Come on, Dad, get back in the car!" And I'm going, there's no way no. And so on with the flashlight, into the woods I go, and I can't find this thing anywhere. And I'm actually walking up the trailhead, and they're following me with the vehicle going, "Get in the car, get in the car." You know, and I am mad because the best vocalization that I believe I've ever heard, we could not record.
You didn't get it. Oh, I know. It happens to every one of us. Don't beat yourself up.
And
it's one of these things that was undeniable. And 4 grown men, 4 men, one of us grown, heard it, and I mean, I tell everybody, and we're very serious. We do not allow anyone to carry a gun.
Right.
For the simple fact, I have seen grown men reduced to mere sissies, and I do not want them to shoot me in a panic. Okay, so we have had guests that go on property, be there 20 minutes, and look and take me back to the vehicle. I want to go. We're done. Hear the first knock or the first yell, and they are done for the night. And it tickles me to death. I mean, you know, I can turn a skeptic into a believer in about 30 minutes most of the time. So,
wow.
But, yeah.
That was a great story. Oh, my gosh, I love it. It's so true. You know, so many times, you know, this show is about the Bigfoot researchers. That's mainly almost always who we have on. Occasionally we have other guests, but you know, that's something that people they won't be honest enough to tell about. They won't tell about the times they had to hide in the car or evacuated the area because you just plumb got run out of there, you know. And so it's so funny too because it's later everybody's laughing about it because it's funny later, you know, but at the moment it's like, oh crap.
Right.
Well, now see Toby, and I see we've got another team member that has really kind of fell off, and he's not been a part of the group for some time, and I beg him to get back involved. But Bronson is the guy that I originally started out with, and he just kind of fell off the wagon. But I you know, when y'all do your opening, I know that y'all do, you know, paranormal, UFOs, anything that's strange, mysterious, and unexplained. Well, you know, I can't chase UFOs, but our group really gets involved with paranormal. Now, we don't spend nowhere near the time on the paranormal part as we do Sasquatch.
Right.
But,
That's the most rewarding of all, I think. But go ahead.
Well, believe it or not, Taylor actually went on a paranormal hunt with me, along with my daughter was with us. Derek, were you there?
No, I don't think I went on that one.
Matt went with us that night. We had about 6 people with us in a reportedly haunted mill that's been down for some years. And, you know, and everybody, and don't get me wrong, we pray, if you're not saved by Christ, you cannot go on a paranormal hunt with us.
Right.
I believe in demonic activity that much. So,
me too. Me too.
So, you know, a demon can inhabit a person that's been saved by Christ. He can mess with you, but he can't inhabit you. So, so we go in, and everybody's thinking they're just going to have a lot of fun. And, you know, we do the little flashlight test, and we get a little bit of flickage. You know, the light's coming on and off a little bit, but we can't get it to repeat with any kind of it wouldn't happen enough for us to do it.
Yeah.
But long story short, we got into a section of the meal where the guy who invited us said that he had been touched the week before. And I went through and cut all the power off in this place myself. Now, the only thing that's operational in this building is the exit signs and the alarm system. There's no other power going. And we're in there, and we're talking, and we're kind of invoking, if you will, very politely, and the lights cut on, a single light, and it cut immediately back off. So I started asking this thing to show itself. Taylor, you want to tell them what happened at that point?
Is that when we went over to the black thing and the motion sensor was going?
Yes, there's a doorway that was covered with a heavy plastic black curtain, you know, the kind you use in construction. And it helped that we had a structural engineer with us that debunked the fact that there was no cross breeze or vacuum within the mill that could have caused this curtain to rise the way it did. And we asked it to show itself, and that curtain raised off the ground at the bottom vertically about 2 to 2.5 feet. It raised out so high that we could see behind the door, and the motion sensor was going off. So I asked them, I said, will that motion sensor go off, or does the light stay on? They said, only if something activates it will the light come on. So we asked this thing to do it again. On command, it raised the curtain a second time.
Wow.
I wanted to debunk the whole fact that this thing was going off. Well, on the third time, when this thing raised it up, I snatched that curtain back. This place is pitch black, and I'm, you know, got my night vision camera, and that motion sensor is only going off in that room, and there's nobody in there. And after we snatched the curtain back, the motion sensor cut off and only reactivated when I walked in the room. So we kind of dip our toes into paranormal investigations, but we do that a little bit more reluctantly than we do Sasquatch. So Sasquatch obviously is not going to come home with us. So, you know, the paranormal field, a little bit different. So, but I wanted to throw that out there so the people don't think that we're we're multifaceted.
I think that's fascinating. I do. We occasionally do have guests on that, but we seem like our listeners seem to love the Bigfoot shows the best. So, but we do try to bring on. In the past, we brought on Chupacabra, the Dogman sighting, ghosts, demonologists, and just all different kinds of. We've even had preachers on the show too, several. So because just because you're a preacher doesn't mean you don't have experiences. You'd be surprised the experiences that preachers have. So it's fascinating. That is a cool thing. So that you actually venturing out. I was going to ask you, have you ever noticed a correlation between haunted areas and Sasquatch sightings?
I can say on my end, probably not.
Okay.
You know, the area that we investigate, I don't know of any bad things that happen around there. Now, there are a lot of caverns on the property. There are 2 caves on the property that we hunt. One is collapsed and is no longer able. You can't go into it. The second one is so small, and you have to climb a cliff to get up to even look in it. So it's too dangerous to really look at. But on the opposite side of the Henry River, where these creatures have to cross, they have to come across that mountain to get to us on our property. I'm told that there are caves large enough that people could live in, and there's multiple caves, but it's a several-hour trek just to get to them. And I'm told that you got to be careful when you choose to do it, because there are some bad people that could be hanging around them, people who maybe worship things that shouldn't be worshipped. You know, so if you look at it along those lines, it could be, because I've got folks that ask me a lot, you know, what is a Sasquatch? What could it be? You know, and there are all kinds of theories out there, but you know, is it some type of fallen angel? I don't know. So there could be a correlation between this and the supernatural. I don't know. That's why we're out here investigating.
Yeah. So has anyone of your group ever seen one? Other than a shadow, I mean, a dead-on sighting yet?
I guess that's going to be me as the closest one. Adam swears that he saw it, 3.5, 4 years ago with night vision goggles from several hundred feet off. But the night that it was Taylor, Bronson, and myself were down there, and we had all of the movement going on, and we actually. We thought we saw the footprints in the gravel, and, we had Rex actually drove back down and was with us. Well, the group was really rattled, okay, and they were shaken up pretty good, and I'm not making fun of anybody at this point, because once you're rattled, so
yeah,
no one was going to go back into the woods with me. And they all had my flashlights. And so, have y'all ever used night vision cameras?
Yes.
Yes.
Have you ever been camera blind?
Yes. It will do it to you.
I got to the point where it was so dark. Y'all been in the woods a lot. A dark night versus a good night and a bright night. Well, this was a very dark night, and you couldn't see anything. Well, I'm walking in the pitch dark, and I'm not 150 foot, 200 foot from the base camp, and they're at the vehicle, and I've made it across a little bridge that crosses a small creek, and I'm up on the trail, and in my camera blindness, I can see a figure, and I put the camera down, and I thought, oh God. I know what I'm looking at, but am I seeing a blob squatch? Well, this creature peeked out from behind this little small cluster of small trees, very visible, and it peeked out, and I could not see the face, but I could see the head and his shoulder and his arm, he or she, I don't know, and it just peeked out, in the course of just 2 or 3 seconds, and then peeked back in, and it just stood there. Now, I want a flashlight. I'm camera blind. I can't see much. So I go back, and I snatch my flashlight out of one of them's hand, and back I go, and there's nothing in the area.
Yeah.
So we go back the next day in the exact spot, Laurie, where I told them I saw it. Now, this tree is a very particular tree. It's an exact marker. It's a bend of a trail. It's easy to pick out. There's a big, crazy, crooked knot at this thing. It's real easy. The features of this tree are so easy to replicate. Boom, no problem. Right where this thing stood, we found a half a print where it stepped up on the side of the bank to get behind that tree. A perfect print. And, it was a moment for me. It's like, aha, there's no faking this. I didn't, it's not make-believe. And from the shoulder, where this thing peeked out, the shoulder of this creature was right above this little crooked spot in the tree. At shoulder level, it was at least 7 feet tall, not counting the neck and the head.
Yeah.
Now, didn't have much of a neck, but nonetheless, this thing was at least 7.5 to 8 feet tall, bare minimal. So, that was, at that point, I can no longer say, well, there's always an explanation. I always want to explain. I always want to give you an alternate theory. It could have been. Let's be honest. Nope. It's a Sasquatch. No other way to describe it, guys. It's the real deal. Put me down for lunch with the Mad Hatter and tea with the rabbit. I'm in. I'm all in. So.
Well, we have about 5 minutes left, guys. And
man, that went quick.
It did, and it was so great. I've enjoyed having you guys on.
We have to
so
have a
much.
part 2. We haven't even covered half of y'all's stories, I bet.
No.
No, there's all.
And would you consider coming back?
It would have to be a week or 2 or 3 down the road. We've got a lot of stuff scheduled here.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, so, that's fine. We're pretty booked up for about the next month, so it'll probably be into April maybe. And
reach back out to us, and we'll see what we can do, and
maybe
hopefully then we
Toby
can
can come on. Yeah,
get Toby back with us and do a follow up, because we're just kind of giving you guys some of the highlights, and anyone that's listening tonight.
Were there any questions from the chat, Lauren? Bill, were there any questions? No. Okay.
No.
I do have a question. How would anyone go to look at your videos?
Well, first off, Taylor is my tech guy. He's, I'm so busy with everything that we're trying to do with the show and home and church and youth leader and different things, and a lot of personal challenges. Taylor's really stepped up to help us with our web page, and we're actually going to be going next week to design an actual website where we've got our domain on GoDaddy set, and we've got to get our website, and we're now to the point where we're wanting to pull up past the episodes that are already edited and have things highlighted for viewers to try to post on Facebook and or the web page. But Taylor's going to be heading that up primarily. I'm just going to help him put it together. But there's not a lot on there right now, but there's more to come, and Taylor can tell you more about that.
Yeah. Let's see, our first Facebook page, I don't know if y'all followed us our first time, I went to a couple famous Bigfoot hunters pages and went and added a bunch of their friends, and we blew up, and it blew up, and people were wanting shirts now of our group, and Facebook shut us down. They forced us to an official account, and it's like they're trying to get us, put us on an account where it charges us, so yeah, now we're just trying to
gotta be kidding me.
Yeah. Yep. To promote. It's great. The Bigfoot community is great. People are supportive. The nicest group of people.
I bet they are, because you guys are great.
Yeah.
It's yes.
Yeah.
I have just enjoyed you tremendously. I find you honest, refreshing, funny.
Hilarious.
And hilarious, and very, very great stories that you're telling us, because, there are a lot of researchers out there that have experienced almost exactly what you have.
Yeah.
And your imitation of the roar was awesome, I'll have to say. Very good. And I would like to hear more about you guys, and so we're going to have you back for sure.
Yes.
I'm getting some echo there. Yeah.
Yes.
So,
Yep.
well, any advice for our listeners out there that are starting to research very quickly? Some final parting words.
From Taylor, run if you're in danger.
Run if you're in danger.
Don't Superman dive into the woods after the thing.
With a tomato cage on your leg.
Yeah.
Yep.
That ain't tears coming from my eyes when I'm that scared. That's just so you know. It's just water and y'all ever had that? You ever had your eyes water out there? You getting almost so excited?
Yeah. Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
No? Or yeah?
I actually have.
Yeah. I've told them a couple times, I was like, I'm not crying. I mean, it's just exciting. Yeah. No. So.
I would get to where I get such an anxious feeling I could barely breathe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been there. Yeah.
And just feel like you're gonna, like your blood pressure's gone up or something. It's just such an anxiety because it's so intense.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love it.
Well, my words of wisdom for everybody is to stay calm, breathe through your mouth, and don't move. That way you can hear what's going on. And if you're interested in being a Sasquatch researcher, remember this: you cannot find him sitting on the couch.
That's right.
Right.
Amen.
You sure can't.
Yep.
You sure can't. Great words of advice. Well, guys, I hope you've had a great time on the show. We certainly enjoyed having you. We want to tell everybody that we hope you had a wonderful St. Patrick's Day and hope you have a wonderful Easter next weekend. And
Thank you so very much.
Yep, thank you.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
Enjoyed it, Lori and Liz. Lawrence?
Thank you, guys.
Guys, thanks for having us on.
Oh, thank you for coming on.
Yeah, it was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Yes, it was an honor. Well, anyway, we're all going to say goodnight.
All right. Good night, guys.
Night.
Night.
Night, everybody.
Nothing.
Good night.
Night.
Sweet dreams.
Night, John boy.
Good night, guys.
Oh, wait.
Bye.